Hitmonlee had a whopping 5 signature moves in the original games: Jump Kick, High Jump Kick, Rolling Kick, Mega Kick, and even Mach Punch. But as time went on, it lost all these signature moves to other Pokemon who stole them. And it wasn't alone, because Magikarp lost Splash to a Pokemon like Wobbuffet, Ho lost Sacred Fire to Entei, weirdly enough, and even Greninja, the Water-type ninja, lost Water Shuriken to a Pokemon you wouldn't expect, and literally lost Water Shuriken as a signature move for a generation. And in this video, I'm going to expose 10 Pokemon who lost their signature moves. Let's do this. Alright, let's start with Hitmonlee, because you would think having multiple signature moves would be reserved for one of the most special Pokemon, like Zygarde for example. It's a legendary Pokemon that keeps the Kalos region in balance, so of course it makes sense for it to have multiple signature moves. In fact, Zygarde has 4 of them: Land's Wrath, 1000 Arrows, 1000 Waves, and Core Enforcer, plus 2 signature abilities, Aura Break and Power Construct. The Necrozma joins that club too, because it has 4 signature moves as well, which makes sense because the Necrozma is literally a godlike Pokemon that consumes suns and travels the entire galactic universe. But back in Generation 1, for some reason, Hitmonlee had 4 signature moves, making it the original Pokemon with the most. It was the only one that could learn Jump Kick, High Jump Kick, Rolling Kick, and Mega Kick by level up, with 3 of those moves being exclusive to only Hitmonlee. That's a normal, average, non-legendary Pokemon sitting right there alongside Zygarde and Necrozma in the most signature moves category. And here's the problem. Having that many signature moves made Hitmonlee the Pokemon that also lost the most. It lost Jump Kick to Baneri in Generation 4, and hilariously Stantler in Generation 5, High Jump Kick to Meditite in Generation 3, then Scraggy and Mienfoo in Generation 5, Rolling Kick got passed to Marshadow in Generation 7, which makes sense because it is a martial artist legendary Pokemon, and Mega Kick went to Mudbray in Generation 7, who should have had his own signature move, High Horsepower, but lost that to Snorlax and Golurk in the same generation, funny enough. Then in Generation 8, Stone Gender learned Mega Kick 2, which makes sense because it does have dummy thick legs. Just look at them. I mean, at least Hitmonlee got some love compared to other Pokemon, like Scyther for instance, who didn't learn a single bug-type move by level up or even TM. It was a bug Pokemon that couldn't do any bug-type moves. Or even Moltres, a legendary fire phoenix, who literally learned Leer at level 51 for some reason. How pathetic. Next, we have Greninja, and it's not often a Pokemon loses a signature move and then gets it back. But Greninja has somehow managed to do this not once, but twice, and both times are pretty hilarious. Water Shuriken is without a doubt Greninja's signature move. It's a water-type ninja that throws water projectiles. This move was made for it. But in the very same generation, in the Hoenn remakes, a Selgor was also given the move by level up, which I guess made sense because it's also a ninja-inspired Pokemon, even though it's not a water type, and none of the bugs it's based on actually do this in real life. But hey, I guess it made a Selgor more interesting. But this is where things get funny, because Greninja wasn't available in Pokemon Sword and Shield. And guess who was? A Selgor, meaning it was now the only Pokemon in that game that could learn the move Water Shuriken, making it its signature move. But then in Scarlet and Violet, the reverse happened. A Selgor wasn't available and Greninja returned, and it's got a signature move back. So they're kind of sharing this Water Shuriken move between each other. But that was just the first time, because Greninja also had another signature move, Mat Block. It was the only Pokemon able to learn it until Sun and Moon, when Throh picked it up, which actually fits Through's theme because it is a karate master guy and he's going to be training with his pupils, so it made sense. But since Greninja was still not available in Sword and Shield, Throh became the only Pokemon that could know the move in that game, making it its signature move as well, since you could transfer Throh through Pokemon Home, which is pretty funny. Next, we have probably the funniest instance of a Pokemon losing a signature move. And I'm talking about Octillery. And by the way, I can't pronounce Octillery really that well, so don't make fun of my pronunciation, please. You see, Remoraid and Octillery were originally based on weaponry, with Remoraid resembling a revolver and Octillery resembling a tank, as you can see with his armored helmet and his beta design. But Game Freak probably thought that might not appeal to the West as much as it would in Japan, so they changed the design to something more family-friendly. And that's why we got the Remoraid and Octillery's modern look. But their signature move stuck with the tank idea, Octazooka, which became their exclusive move by level up, and shared with Horsey, who could learn it by breeding. But in Generation 5, something hilarious happened. To commemorate the 9-year run of Pokemon Smash, a Japanese TV show all about Pokemon, Game Freak released an event Pokemon based on what Chief Gogo Matsumoto, one of the lead personalities of the show, wanted. And guess what he wanted? He wanted a Sableye with the move Octazooka, just because he thought it would be funny. So Game Freak actually made it and distributed it in Japan for just 1 week back in 2013, meaning Octillery lost his signature move because the TV show host decided that it would be funny for a Sableye to randomly have it. Just imagine that, a Sableye with Octazooka. Like, I couldn't even fathom what that would be like. No one is getting that Sableye's gyms. Remember back in Generation 3 when Kecleon was known as the camouflage Pokemon? It could literally turn invisible. There was even a mini quest to track down all 6 invisible Kecleon across the region. You could find one in Fort Tree City Gym, 2 of them on Route 120, one in Scorched Slab, Route 119, and even one in Lily Cove Motel. So of course having the move camouflage would make perfect sense, right? Well, apparently Game Freak didn't think so, because in the same generation Kecleon was introduced in with this move, it could not learn it. The camouflage Pokemon, known as the color swap Pokemon that could camouflage itself, couldn't learn the move camouflage. And guess who could? Staryu. Staryu was the only Pokemon that could learn it, making it its signature move in that generation. And I guess it makes sense because in real life, starfish can change their colors and texture to blend in with the sand, rocks, and coral around them, and their shape makes them look like part of the ocean floor so fish don't bother them. But really? Kecleon couldn't learn this move until 12 years later in the remakes. I mean, Deerling, a deer that puts leaves on his forehead, got this move before Kecleon, and his whole camouflage is just putting stuff on his forehead during the seasons. Kecleon has like a legendary camouflage status because in Pokemon Go, it wasn't released until 6 years after the game launched, long after Generation 3 Pokemon were added, and it was probably because no one could find it because, you know, it was invisible due to his camouflage. This is more unforgivable than Growl not learning Growl, and even Lickitung not learning Lick in Generation 1. It's pretty bad. Now let's talk about a Pokemon that never had the chance to use a signature move, the Eternal Flower Floette in Pokemon X and Y. This Pokemon was found in the game's coding, and is believed it was planned to be released as an event Pokemon, but never was. It had higher stats than a normal Floette and its own exclusive Fairy-type move, Light of Ruin. Literally the strongest Fairy-type move in the entire series, to this day. But for whatever reason, Game Freak scrapped it, and never released it, leaving this immortal Floette without this move it was literally made for. And I think it might have something to do with Zayora and whatever happened behind the scenes during the X and Y era. Because if you really think about it, Zayora actually makes way more sense as a mythical of X and Y than Sun and Moon. Because here's why. The main legendary Pokemon of Kalos are based on Yggdrasil, the tree of life from Norse mythology. Xerneas is based on the stags that give life and immortality. Yveltal is based on the eagle that sits atop Yggdrasil, overseeing life from above, but bringing death when the balance demands it. And Zygarde is based on Nidhogg, the serpent that constantly chews on the roots of the tree of life, slowly weakening it and representing the inevitable breakdown of order over time. And here's the thing, Zayora would have fit perfectly with these 3 Pokemon because it's an incredibly fast electric squirrel Pokemon. And in Norse mythology, there's a squirrel named Radagast that runs up and down Yggdrasil delivering messages between the eagle and the serpent because they hate each other. I feel like Zayora was made to be Radagast in Yggdrasil, but was scrapped and delayed for Sun and Moon for some reason, since it became the mythical Pokemon of Sun and Moon. So maybe whatever happened behind the scenes in X and Y delayed the release of Eternal Flower Floette and basically put it into a obscurity of never being released, which is pretty unfortunate because I would have loved to see this tiny little fairy use the strongest fairy type move in existence. And I'm pretty sure Floette is the tiniest Pokemon to date, so it would have been a sight to see. Maybe we'll finally see it in Legends ZA. We'll have to find out. Next up, we have Magikarp, with probably the most infamous signature move in Pokemon, Splash. And funny enough, this pathetic Pokemon actually lost its pathetic signature move very early on. Back in the day, everyone thought Splash made perfect sense for a flailing fish, since it's just splashing around doing no damage. But if you look closely at Magikarp's idle animation in the early 3D games like Pokemon Stadium, it's not really splashing at all. It's splashing nothing, there's no water. It's just jumping up and down. And when it lost its signature move in Generation 2 to Hoppip and Meryl, a lot of people thought it was very random and made no sense because why would a grass-type Pokemon learn a move that involves splashing water? Well, it's because if you look at the Japanese translation of Splash, it actually makes perfect sense. The move's name in Japanese is Hop, so Hoppip actually made more sense of having this move than Magikarp, who's just really flailing around and doing nothing, being pathetic. Sorry, Magikarp. And Meryl too, because it does have a Springy Tilt and Hop and Bounce on. What's even funnier is that Splash became the best Z move in Sun and Moon, boosting the user attack set by 3 stages if used with a Normium Z Crystal. And Magikarp wasn't even the best user for it. So that title went to Mimikyu thanks to its Disguise ability, which is hilarious because out of all the Pokemon that learn Splash naturally by level up, I feel like Mimikyu makes the least amount of sense because, like, why? What is under that cloth that is hopping around? So not only did Magikarp lose the only thing that made it unique, but also lost to a Pokemon that made no sense in having the move, and somehow became better with it. Poor Magikarp. Next up, we have Darkrai. And while this Pokemon didn't technically lose its signature move, it basically did. All thanks to another Pokemon, Smeargle. Because back in the early 2000s, Smeargle became somewhat of an anomaly in the competitive Pokemon scene. Even though it had the lowest base stat total of any viable Pokemon, it was still one of the best. And it was all because of its signature move, Sketch, which let it permanently copy any move in the game, which essentially gave it infinite potential. And in competitive play, it became especially infamous for Darkrai's signature move, Dark Void, a move that could target both opponents
opponents in a double battle with 80% accuracy, and if it hit, it would put them to sleep, which was absolutely insane. And unlike Darkrai, Smeargle was just a normal regular Pokemon and not a mythical, so it wasn't banned from tournaments. Combine that with his booty ability and a handy Focus Sash, you had a Pokemon that practically broke the game with Dark Void. It actually got so bad with Dark Void that Game Freak literally banned the move from tournament play, right alongside Skydrop, which at the time was banned because of a game-breaking glitch that would stop the opponent from moving. Dark Void was that good. It was banned with a move that actually broke the game with a game-breaking bug. And Game Freak didn't stop there, because Smeargle became so notorious with this move that in Sun and Moon, they literally hard-coded in the game to check if the Pokemon was Darkrai before Dark Void was used. So if it was a Darkrai using this move, even if it was generated by Assist or Metronome, the move would fail. And it literally would say that in the game's text. And on top of that, they nerfed Dark Void's accuracy from 80% to 50%. So thanks to Smeargle breaking the game with this move in competitive play, it ended up banned and nerfed. And Darkrai has to live with the repercussions, unfortunately. I'm sorry, dude. So even though Darkrai technically didn't lose its signature move, it basically did, thanks to this little pup here. Next, we have Seaking, and this Pokemon actually lost its signature move to Human Intervention, because if you didn't know, Seaking was the only Pokemon that could learn Waterfall in Generation 1, making it its signature move. But in the very next games, the move became an HM, so Seaking lost its move due to humans. And as we've seen in the lore of Pokemon, TMs and HMs are made by humans to teach Pokemon moves. Early artwork even shows TMs as bands that would be attached to the Pokemon's head to program the move into its brain. And later they became floppy disks that you could insert into a TM machine, but the Pokemon learned the move through some kind of tutorial on the screen. Well, that's how I imagine it, at least. Unless you just like shove it in their forehead like this or something. Right for it. There are even examples in the games of TMs being explicitly made by humans. Like Fissure, for example. Giovanni mentions that he created the TM after starting his gym. Or even Toxic. Koga says the move has been passed down in his family for over 400 years, being like a family heirloom or something. So maybe in the lore of Pokemon, trainers admired Seaking so much that they copied his signature move to teach other Pokemon, so it would remind him of Seaking. Since Waterfall is the only signature move to ever become an HM in the games. Well, besides Rock Smash, but it became a TM before becoming an HM, so Waterfall to HM is the first ever. And it's kind of funny because Seaking has multiple messages that mention that Seaking has Fin Enthusiast and Horn Enthusiast for it, randomly enough. So that theory of them making the Waterfall HM wouldn't surprise me. Next, we have the Hoenn Starters, and these Pokemon are another great example of Pokemon who lost their signature moves. Blaziken lost Blaze Kick to Hitmonlee in the very next generation, which I guess makes sense because Hitmonlee is a kicking Pokemon, and apparently needs to know every single kicking move that exists in the Pokemon world, apparently. Like, is there a kicking move that it doesn't learn? Okay, it doesn't learn Triple Arrows, which is a Suian Decidueye signature move, which is apparently a kicking move. So there you go, that's a kicking move that Hitmonlee can't learn. But then Blaziken also lost this move to Pokemon like Mew and Genesect once it became a TR in Pokemon Sword and Shield. Imagine that, Mew using Blaze Kick. That'd actually be pretty cute. Then you have Swampert, who lost Muddy Water to a handful of Pokemon in the next generation, like Quagsire, Gastrodon, and Kyogre, which all makes sense. But once Muddy Water became a TR and TM in the later generations as well, practically every Water-type Pokemon can learn it. Just look at this. Man, Muddy Water was just so cool on Swampert, and now just every Pokemon can learn it, so now Swampert isn't as cool anymore. But Sceptile probably has it the worst out of all three. Not only did it lose its signature move, Leaf Blade, to Pokemon like Farfetch'd, but it also became worse at it in the very next generation, thanks to the physical special split in the game. Since Sceptile's attack stat is mediocre compared to his special attack, its signature move, Leaf Blade, suddenly became inferior to options like Energy Ball because it was a special move. And what's even funnier is that Pokemon like Farfetch actually became better with it. And in Generation 7, Farfetch even got a buff that gave it a higher attack stat than Sceptile. Yeah, it has 5 points over Sceptile's base attack stat. That's how bad Sceptile's attack stat is. Sure, without stab, Farfetch still doesn't outmatch Sceptile using Leaf Blade, but it's still a funny thought. A little Onion Link just overpowering this grass dragon Pokemon with blades on his arms. And last but not least, I thought it'd be fun to talk about some Pokemon who quote-unquote lost the signature move according to Ash's Pokedex in the anime. Like, for example, in the episode Primate Goes Bananas, Dexter claims Rage is Charmander's special attack, even though tons of Pokemon can learn this move in the original games, including Primate, who appears in the very same episode who's literally known for raging. So yeah, Charmander is not known for rage. It's not a special attack, Dexter, but I guess it lost its signature move to the Pokemon it fought against. Or in the banned episode Legend of Dratini, Dexter states Tackle is Tauros' special attack. Tackle, a move almost every Pokemon in existence can learn, even Magikarp. I guess you could say this was a 25-year early hint of Tauros eventually getting its real signature move, Raging Bull, in Scarlet and Violet. But really, Dexter? Tackle being a special move? In the March of the Executor Squad episode, Dexter says Hypnosis is Executor's special attack, despite the fact that Drowsy and Hypno exist. Hypno, who is known for hypnosis. It's in his name, and is way more associated with hypnosis than a walking pineapple tree. And finally, in Tracy Gets Bugged episode, Dester claims Swords Dance is Scyther's special attack, which I can actually get behind because it does fit Scyther's whole sword fighting style. But even in Generation 1, 2 other Pokemon learned it by Level Up, and basically every Pokemon learned it through TM. Even Farfetch learned it through Level Up. So Scyther lost his quote-unquote special attack signature move, Swords Dance, is still a dope Bug-type moves to fight with. Poor guy. Which reminds me, there's a ton of hilarious facts for all the original 151 Pokemon. I made a whole video covering them right here. So check it out.